How many of you have struggled in the past with trying to walk before we even learn how to crawl? I know I have. Something to be able to help you out with that is, just thinking back to human nature. When we're born, we don't just come out starting to walk or even run a 100-meter sprint. We need to learn how to crawl first. And I think that this is an important lesson that we need to be able to apply into our adolescent and adult lives as well, is that we can't just expect to always get to the outcome. We have to go through the steps and the process and the trials and tribulations that take place in order to get to where we want to be. Now, this is a problem for a lot of different reasons, but I'm just going to touch on 3 reasons why trying to run before we crawl is a problem. I think one of these reasons is because sometimes our ego gets the best of us. Sometimes we want to so badly get to where we want to go, or we want to so badly be the best at what it is that we're doing, that we tend to skip steps and we tend to maybe lose track of what our humble beginnings are, or we refuse to acknowledge our roots or where we came from before we got to where we are. A second thing being that we just become impatient. It's human nature. Patience is a skill that not all of us possess, and it's a skill that has to be refined and toned. So a lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves to get to where we want to be that we tend to lose a sense of emotion regulation because of that growing impatience that's fostering inside of us. So another reason why this happens is because we just get so caught up in what it is that we want that we lose track of what we do in the process. And a lot of times we get caught in, it's common everywhere, where sometimes we'll step on other people's toes without realizing, or sometimes we'll wrong people to get to where we want. And then when we look back, we realize how messy that trail is that we left behind to inevitably get to where we want to be. But if you do it in a wrong way or in an immoral way where you hurt people or you step on toes and you leave a bad taste in other people's mouths about you, then did you truly get to where you want to be the right way, or a way that works for you? So a solution that I would give you if you are somebody that struggles with, wanting to run before you crawl, I like to always use the analogy of, think of life as almost like a board game, like you're playing a game of Candyland. And, sometimes you're going to land on a space where it might say move back 2 spaces. Sometimes you're going to land on a space where it says, hey, jump ahead 3 spaces. And in life, that's kind of how it goes, is sometimes we have to go backwards in order to make forward progress, or sometimes we catch a break and we're able to jump ahead unexpectedly. But at the end of the day, they all lead to the same outcome. You're still at the finish line at the end of the board game. And at the end of life, it doesn't matter exactly how you get there. There's a right and a wrong way, and there's a lot of steps that you take in the process. But at the end of the day, you still make it to that same outcome. Now, this brings me back to the idea of Newton's first law, which is the law of inertia. An object in motion stays in motion. It doesn't matter whether or not you move laterally, backwards, or forward. Inevitably, at some point, you are still moving in some way down the path that is meant for you, or down the path that you are trying to strive for you to inevitably get to the outcome that you're looking for. Finally, one last solution that I would give you if you're struggling with this is, when in doubt, just go back to the basics. For those of you that are athletes now, or maybe have been athletes in the past, or if you coach athletes, it's very, very common where if you are struggling with a skill that's a big picture skill, you want to go back to the basics, go back to your fundamentals. I obviously always gravitate towards baseball or softball. If you're botching a ground ball in the infield when they're getting hit hard to you, go back to glove fundamentals. If you're shooting a free throw shot and you're missing everything at the 3-point line, maybe go back in, start in closer to the net, and then work your way back out. So you want to be able to go back to those steps that it took you to get to shooting that free throw. You want to go back to those first steps and then be able to progress your way back. If you did it once, I promise you, you can do it again and get to that outcome.